Welcome to the Evolution of Aloha podcast with me, Dr. Jerry Ebalaroza-Tunnell. Now let's talk story. Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Evolution of Aloha podcast, a Plowline Media production, and I am your host, Dr. Jerry Ebalaroza-Tunnell. So there are people who talk about compassion, and there are people who build it with their own hands. And today we sit face to face, he alo ahe alo, because that's how we come to understand what makes us human, what makes us heal, and what makes us remember each other. And my guest today, she doesn't believe in just connection. She creates it in places most of us could overlook. Alix Frazier is the founder of Paw Arty, where healing doesn't arrive in a lecture hall. It arrives on four paws, through canvas on painting on canvas. It arrives in the quiet moment when a child, a veteran, or an elder living with memory loss reaches out and is met with unconditional presence. Through initiatives like Paw Arty, Alix is weaving something powerful, a bridge between animal advocacy, creative expression, and human healing. A reminder that empathy is not something we teach from a distance. It is something we practice in relationship. Because aloha, real aloha, is not a word. It is a way of being. It is the breath we share with one another, human and animal alike. A recognition that we are bound together in ways that we are still learning to honor. And what Alix is doing is she's calling us back to that remembering. Not through memory or performance, but through experience, through touch, art, through care, and through presence. So today I invite you listeners to listen differently, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because this conversation is not just about the animals. It is about how we choose to show up for life itself. So Alix, welcome to the Evolution of Aloha. It is such an honor for you to be here, and I want to know all about the work that you're doing, and how can we change this world together through art.
Dr. G, thank you. Aloha. It's an honor for me to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You just said this humongous thing. How do we change the world through art? Wow. Step by step, person by person, animal by animal, purpose by purpose. That's how we change the world, through art.
Yes. And it's like a lot of times people who I believe that everyone is creative in their own way. But some people feel that, oh, I'm not creative enough to create art, because to them, art is like something that they see at the museum, right? It's, that's what they think art is, when art can be so many different things. So tell me about Paw Arty and what are you doing with that?
Oh, wow. I'd love to go into a story immediately, but let's do that. Let me tell you about Paw Arty. So Paw Arty was actually created more than a decade ago. My mother had Alzheimer's, and I like to say she was living with Alzheimer's, not dying from it. Because, as in many cases, it took over 9 years for that debilitating disease to finally leave her alone and at peace. But she was living with it. And during that time, we watched that evolution of her going from this incredibly dynamic woman who, had she been born in this day and age, would have been an architect, without a doubt. But instead, she was a housewife, a farmer's wife. It left her without that dynamism that she has. It was taking it away little by little. And I and the other children, her children, were watching that, and it was breaking my heart. And I recognize that these are the small wee hours of the moment where I have time to make memories with her. I have time to restructure my relationship with her, understand who she is as an adult, as a woman, as a sentient being, all of those things. This is my opportunity to have those moments with her. So we started doing little things like watching the History Channel together and discussing that, um, getting the family pictures out, and those that didn't have any information on the back, challenging her memory to come back to me and tell me what was going on here. What was going on when your father in the 1800s or early 1920s was doing his engineering and making roadways down the canyon. So interesting, so amazing. So we wrote all those out. And then one day I said, we should do art. And she looked at me, and to reverberate back to something that you said when you said some people think they aren't creative, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, you're a horrible artist. All we'd really make are disaster pieces." And I laughed because I knew that. My eighth grade art teacher told me to never, ever, ever do art again and that I should go into business. That was sad. My sister was known as having all the art talent. So I just took that with a grain of salt and said, well, let's just do it anyway. So we painted some beautiful Georgia O'Keeffe flowers. We painted the script that goes above the kitchen, love, laugh, love, live. And then I said to her one day, hey, your shelter cat just ran through the living room. Should we paint your cat? And again, the disease, but her wacky sense of humor both slipped in. And she said, oh, you're so silly. The cat wouldn't stand still long enough for us to get some paint on him. I loved my mom, and she knew it was absurd when she was saying it, but how fun. So we did, though. We painted pictures of her shelter cat and mine. And I took them down to the local shelter and said, would you guys want these? And to my great shock, they said, yes, do you have more? They wanted to display them. They wanted people to see those animals in a way that they weren't seeing them behind the cages. And to this day, outside the cages is one of our mantras. We are working to help those shelter animals, those lovely souls, get seen outside the cages. And at Paw Arty, the community comes together to paint pictures of shelter pets so that they can get seen and get new homes and find their own forever family. There you go.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful.
Well, thank you. It's
That is so beautiful because there's so many different layers on, building community. And I think for our four-legged members of this planet, they get forgotten about. They're looked at as not a sentient being. And you can see this is Zoe Lonnie. So Zoe is life, Lonnie is heaven. So it's a heavenly life.
mhm.
And I believe that she was actually brought to me from the heavens. I didn't adopt her. I didn't even expect her to be in my life. But August 4th, it'll be 4 years, my granddaughter was about to be born. And I was heading out to my son's house to watch my grandson while my son and his partner went to the hospital. Well, as I was heading down the road, we have a really huge eagle. We have not eagle, owl. We have like two really big owls in the community, and the owl swooped down in front of my car to where I slammed on my brakes. Like, whoa, what is that? And I look over to the side and I see all of these small little creatures like running away, like the owl was hunting. And then across the street, this small little dog runs up against the fence and is trying to just get away from the owl. And so I get out of the car and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a dog. So, of course, there's part of me that was like, oh my gosh, my granddaughter's about to be born. I've got to get over there. Or I can just leave this dog alone. And the other part of me was like, if anything happened to this dog and I heard about it, it'll just break my heart. So I stopped the car, jumped out of the car. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's in August, so it's like the sun is already peeking out. I jump out of the car and I get down on all fours and I'm like, come on, puppy, come on, let's go. And I'm like having a conversation with her and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna like ensure that you're okay, but you have to come with me now. A baby's about to be born. So she comes over, picks her up, and I put her into the trunk of my car. after my granddaughter was born and, it's like a day had passed, I'm like, I need to find the owner for this dog. And I didn't know what a West Highland Terrier was. She taught me, of course, what a West Highland Terrier is. And so I put out on social media that I found this dog, and I went through all of the different group sites and everything, putting pictures up of her and telling her, telling people like, if you know if this, if this dog belongs to you, please let me know. But I was really careful because then I realized on how many people like Westies. Like everyone wants a Westie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a dog that everybody wants. So she has a chip, and when I took her to the vet, she has a chip, but the chip wasn't registered to anybody. And so then, I was like, well, if you can give me the code, maybe I can find where the chip comes from and I can do all of these things. So I did my research. And then I realized that if I wanted to keep her, I needed for 30 days in Washington State tells you that you're, I think it was, I don't know, 45 days that you have to be active in looking for its owner. So I blasted out on social media and it was a terrible experience for me, Alex.
Oh no.
People came out of the woodwork to claim Zoe as their dog. And there were people that would say, you know what, I raised Westies. Why don't you just give me to her and I can make sure? And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't, it doesn't feel right. And so I came home. I live in Bothell, and I came home one day and there were signs with the picture that I put on social media of Zoe all over the place, but it wasn't my number. It was somebody else's number. So I called the number and I'm like, hey, you've got these posters all over town with the dog that I posted, but with your number. And she's like, well, I just wanted to help. And if anybody calls, and I would call you and I would do all of these things. And I was like, well, you know what? You can put my number on there. They can call me directly. And then it got weird because people started to talk, started to say things about how I stole her and all of these things. And people just got nasty. And on social media, people can say whatever they want. And so it's like I did my due diligence, did what I had to do, and she's been mine for 4 years. And
Wow.
so she's always here, and I would love to get a picture of her. But
And
yeah,
that chip is registered to you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, good. Yeah,
yes.
I've people on social media need to realize there's a cause and effect for every single thing they say, and that they
Hmm.
shouldn't just be making their mouth move because that has a reverberation too. This little guy was also a, a stray,
Oh, cute.
and similar story. Similar story. This is FNG, and we think he's probably a purebred, but we believe he was dumped because they didn't take the time with him to spay or neuter him, in this case, neuter. And I think that he had some bad habits, which it only took us about a year to break.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do know what you mean, and people should just be careful, cause and effect of their actions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think she was dumped as well too, because when we did find her, it's like down the back of her, in her back, it was like she had like this really bad rash and she didn't have any hair. Her nails were so long that it kind of like was curling under her paws. And so she really couldn't walk because it was like hurting her. And so she's okay now and she's a princess. She expects to be brushed. She's bathed all the time. She goes to the groomers. But, she's amazing. She's amazing. And she carries this energy around that just calms people. And, it's like I love that about her. And so I want to go back to talking about Paw Arty and tell me about like what are some of the things that you're doing with that? How do you bring healing through
Uh,
art?
okay, very good point. Please don't mind if I scratch scratch the neck of the kitty while we're
No, not at all.
he appears to need it right now. And they do bring us such joy and such
Yes.
compassion. And the companion animal relationship with humans is just so incredibly important. And that is what Paw Arty is based upon as well. We see these beautiful beings and we realize that if we give them love, they're going to give it back to us tenfold. So Paw Arty sometimes introduces animals to people who never had an opportunity before. I'm surprised. I got a whole idea of what I'm going to say next, but I'm surprised when I do something like go into a Boys and Girls Club to teach care and welfare of animals, how many of those youth have never held a cat before? How many of those youth have no experience? And so we have a circle that we get into with the kitties, and I talk to them first about safe kitty handling. And we have a circle, and they get a chance, maybe their first moment ever, to have an experience with an animal. And it's an experience that's going to last a lifetime. And we remember those animals. We remember those Zolanis and those Fenjis that have made it into our lives and given us back so very much. And so that's what Paw Arty is seeking to do. When we go out to a community event, we will often take kitties and we bring kittens rather than cats. And we do that because they generally have not built up the dander yet that would cause an allergic reaction. That happens after 6 months of age. And we don't bring dogs because they can be highly stressed. Not good for the people, not good for the dog. But our activities often feature cats where there can be we call it the kitten experience or the cat experience. And then once the attendees have had a moment to be with the animals, we settle in and they pick a picture that they want to paint of an animal that's currently in a shelter. And my team of volunteers, I laughingly say we have 140 volunteers, of which 10% are active. And it's true. About 10% of them are active. And that's just the industry standard for volunteerism. Love to see that change. But these people who are attending our events, they might be at a library, they might be in an assisted living center, they could be part of 4-H, they could be at a venue, a winery, a brewery, Shack Arts Center, Stuffington Ceramics. They choose the picture of the animal they want to paint, and my team of volunteers has already sketched that by hand. And that's what you're viewing right now. You're viewing a sketch of an animal. This happens to be Brisbane, the dog. He's a plot hound, and he's located in Stanwood, Washington at Flip's Island Rescue. He's available for adoption. And so my team sketches this, and then my volunteer team puts together his picture from which you will color him. I like to call it coloring rather than painting because we want to take away the scary parts. You see that the background's cut out. You don't have to worry about fences or sheds or grass. You do it your way. Do it your way. Some people call this paint by numbers without the numbers. But because we pre-sketched it, it's coloring. It's just coloring with paint like you would in a color book. And in addition to that, we serve 101 shelters right now. But we then take the information on the animal to draw that deeper connection. Do you want to know who you're painting? Do you want to know that soul that you're working to save right now through your painting? So here's his biography, what's known about him, where he came from, a little bit of information on the shelter, because we want to raise the awareness of these animals so that more shelters will get more adoptions or volunteers or donations. So this is this information. And then they paint them. More than 70% of the people keep these finished paintings, which we're very proud that they keep them. And those that return them to us, they can be all kinds of beautiful paintings. So I'm showing a dog right now. This is a husky mix, another husky mix. And we run into just all kinds of people with all kinds of abilities. And you don't have to have a strong ability to create something beautiful. The picture I'm showing right now is of a cat. This cat is Figment, and Figment is from Posado's Safe Haven. And someone has painted this black cat black with white etching around it. And they have transposed the colors. They've almost swapped the colors so that you're looking at this incredibly gorgeous image. They didn't worry about color balance. They didn't worry about hues or tones. They just did what let it come out. And you can be as colorful and as crazy as you want. This is Louis. Louis is from Noah in Stanwood. And someone here has taken this gorgeous tuxedo cat and painted him blue and orange with a pink background. Just all this beauty that channeled from their soul to the picture. And then these pictures, of which 30% are returned to us, go up in neighborhood hallway galleries. I call them hallway galleries because although they're permanent, they're just little 8 pictures. You might be walking through the Fred Meyer grocery store and realize you need to use the restroom. Down that hallway to the restroom are our galleries. Never wanted my name in the bathroom hallway before, but it's working. 300 to 500 people a day see these gorgeous pictures, know about the animals, learn about them through biography cards that we leave to talk about the animal. I'm showing little business cards right now with Louis's picture, the black and white tuxedo cat. Says who he is, talks a little bit about him. Sometimes it tells the name of the name or association that the painter was. If a youth from a middle high school painted him, we might say that. If somebody with Alzheimer's painted him, we may tell you. If a disabled person working with us on Fridays painted it, we'll say that. And then we encourage people to call the shelter again. 48,000 of these little cards are taken every year. Our program is
Wow.
working. The animals are getting noticed. They're getting seen outside the cages, maybe in the bathroom hallway, but we don't care. Kroger and Fred Meyer is kind enough to give us that space for free. And 300 to 500 people a day, that's more than almost any art gallery I know, probably paralleling places like the Seattle Mopop. Not
And
the Mopop.
are they getting adopted as well
They're getting
too?
adopted. And our rationale for that is I can't tell you with 100 animal shelters and them being so busy without enough volunteers either. I can't tell you that I, I can't tell you who adopted Louis, for
Right,
instance,
right.
but he got adopted. What I can tell you is that we are seeing an incredible surge in adoptions around here. The metrics are these: 47% of all animals adopted every year are adopted from shelters. People are going to adopt if they're going to adopt, but we'd like them to start looking at shelters. We'd like them to think shelter when they think adoption. If we could increase from 47% to 60, that would effectively end animal euthanasia in the United States. Not changing that they're going to adopt, but where they adopt from. And if you're stuck on a particular breed of animal, if you want a ragdoll cat, 20% of the animals in shelters are purebred. So we encourage people to think from their mind, but also from their heart. Say
Mhm.
to yourself, I'd like to save a life. Save it through painting, save it through adopting, save it through volunteering.
That is beautiful.
Well,
That
thank
is
you.
so beautiful. It's like as you were sharing about how, bringing kittens in and how, they may have never, these children may have never held a cat before. The first thing that came to mind is thinking about what happens when a child is never held. What,
Wow.
right? It's like it's the same thing. It's like if you don't hold a child, the child will do what it needs to do to survive. It will be quote unquote wild.
Yes. Give me a moment. I can elaborate on that. I
Yes.
showed you our beautiful yellow kitty, Fenji. I also have another kitty here named Smerson, the teenage person. He was running wild in my neighborhood. I know he'd been out for at least a year in the cold and rain and wet, struggling to survive. Finally, I captured him humanely through a catch alive trap one day. He was 30% underweight, so scrawny, but he was tame. He just didn't know people could be trusted. And so Smerson is now part of our life, and he writes a blog every Tuesday. And in his blog, his major premise is I'm deciding whether I'm going to keep these people or not. Not that we're keeping him. Am I keeping them? Am I going to keep these people or not? So it's pretty cute. And he's such a little rebel. I'm sure he's behind me somewhere watching this, taking notes for my blog.
Yeah, we could, I think, overall and the thread that binds it all is love,
Yeah.
is compassion, it's
Yeah.
care. It's, it's understanding that that's what they need, is they need love.
They do.
We all need love. And if we could just share a little more aloha in the world, we would reduce crime and at the same time reduce euthanasia of animals. If we
We sure would. Um, if I may, I would either pick my iPad up and take it to a window or walk away to a window because I see my third stray cat in his catio asking to come in. May I do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have a preference?
Absolutely.
I'll just turn my back for a moment.
Yes.
Okay. His name is E Cat
E-cat.
or Mr. E Cat.
Okay.
And if you say that 3 times fast, Mr. E Cat, do that for me.
Yes.
You get it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Come on, E. He's going to be a little shy about coming on the line. He's in an outdoor catio. Mr. E,
Oh,
when I brought him in again outside in my neighborhood. So I'm just surprised that these animals, no chips, not neutered. When I brought him in, for the first 3 weeks, I had to wear a plastic face mask and Kevlar gloves. He's completely tame, but he was acting out so badly because he'd never been held, he'd never been loved. And so, right back to your point about think about humans. Yeah, it's
right.
the same thing. I mean, look at how close my face is to him right now. October, I never would have had the guts to do this, pet him, hold him this close. But he's
Wow.
come along, and humans can too if you just see them, for who they are, find joy in the things that they're capable of doing, share
Right.
your stories with them, let them share theirs. And in a moment, if you remind me, I'll talk for a moment about Claire's Place, homeless to housing, and the program that we ran with them.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh, well, I would love to. Thank you for asking. So Paw Arty is out there in the community, just painting, just having fun. But on occasion, and the occasions are more frequent than you might guess, we come into these incredible stories. And one was Claire's Place. So this is an initiative in Everett, Washington, where people who were formerly homeless have an opportunity to come and live in. It's high density housing, and they have regulations and they have restrictions, and I believe in every one of those. But they have a chance to come in and stop the homeless cycle that they're in. So we were at Claire's Place doing a program, working with them, and we were painting the shelter pets, the sketched pictures of the animals. And this is an environment that felt safe to them. But I said to one of the tables, because we encourage communication at the tables. This isn't just painting the animals, but it's communication as well. Sorry, ECAT just did something bad.
Oh no.
Never in the face, but this is the remediation training, a squirt bottle. Let's see where he went. Sorry about the nonsense here. It happens in a family of
Oh.
cats.
Yeah, no worries.
So we encourage table talk because it brings people together. They can discuss what they think of the animals, what they think of the painting. They go outside of themselves just a little bit when they're doing it. So we were having some conversations at the table. I moved table to table. I was at one specific one, and this woman was just doing such a beautiful job. And I'm not commenting on her talent. I'm commenting on the way that she was expressing herself, on her brushstroke, on her ability to lean outside of herself for just a few moments. And I said, "Can I share this?" And her head went down. She couldn't even look at me in the face. She was too frightened about how people might treat her, what they might say, that she wouldn't get a positive, affirming response. And although I'm not a psychologist, I knew to understand where she was coming from at that moment. All of her history, all of what was in her was saying at that moment, I am frightened. Please don't expose me. And so I didn't. I talked about her at the table because we had already developed that rapport. But then later, probably 15 minutes later or so, I said, may I act as if this painting came from me and simply tell some of the things that I see in it? And very quietly, she said, yes, yes. So in honor and with tons of respect for what we had just agreed to, I stood up and I said, I'd like you all to see these brush strokes. I'd like you to notice the glint in this animal's eye. I'd like you to see the beauty that's shining through this recently painted picture. She was smiling behind me. Still, her head was down, but she was smiling behind me. And later, after that painting party was over, the activities director came up to me and she said, I've never seen them come out of their shell like that. They feel invisible. This helped so much.
That's some powerful work. That is some powerful work because society has already painted a picture of them.
Well said. Well said.
And it's like it's not what they begin to believe what is painted for them. And so by doing that, by letting her know about the talent, the creativity that she had, she
Mm-hmm.
finally was able to look up and be like, you know what? I am more than my circumstances. And as long as you have people that surround you, that can care for you, that can love you, that can guide you, that can give you shelter, everything that a human needs, it brings out the best in individuals, just like with the best in your cat. Mr. E, it's like, what was he like? What was he like when you first got him? And yeah, tell me, what was he like? You wore Kevlar gloves.
I wore Kevlar gloves and a full plastic face mask. Um, I was surprised he didn't rip my face off or try to get at my face. He was scared. I recognized he was scared. And it was weeks before I even reached in and touched him on the nose. And the hissing and the roller coaster, the somersaults that he did, and the pounding against the cage, not hurting himself, but pounding inside the cage to get away from me. He was just so scared. And I meant nothing but kindness toward him. He had, just so that the listeners know, he had a double size dog kennel on a raised area, covered with a sheet, with water and a litter box and everything he needed, with natural sunlight coming in. He was safe, he was cared for, but he was so very scared as I tried to acclimate him. You're making some expressive statements that I want to let you verbalize. May I let you verbalize what you're thinking when I described his circumstances of where I kept him for the first little while?
Yeah, you know, he's a cat.
He's a cat, not my cat,
He's
some
right,
cat.
right, and he's scared. And the first thing that comes to mind is that's what we do when people are scared. And if they don't have a home, if they are, out on the streets, if they've made a bad choice with humans, we have discernment. We are able to articulate most of the time, we're able to articulate what we're feeling, and people don't listen. People don't listen. When you're working with an animal, you have to listen differently because they don't speak words. But I feel that when we are not truly listening or we're not observing what is happening in a person's body, where their nervous system is at, why, asking questions, not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you, right? What we do is that if they make a mistake, the first thing we do is we lock them up. We lock them up. We put them in a cage, right? Is what we do. And so, it's like looking at it from the cat point of view, he could have run off. He could have like done anything, and you confining him into a space where it's like, all right, we're going to work with your nervous system, but this is the way we have to work with your nervous system. You're an animal, you're different. We have to treat people that way. So I don't want to make any comparisons. I just want to be able to show that how we love, how we care, what we do, how we communicate with sentient beings is different. Is different. And so that's kind of like
Yeah.
those are the expressions that are coming up in my face, which I can never play poker because I'm always showing my emotions on my face.
True. And we all have to have something inside of us that says, I will take that next step, whatever it is. And
Yes.
here's a beautiful extreme. last week, I went to lunch with a friend I hadn't seen in several months. We had a lovely lunch together. And as we left, I went out the door of the restaurant. I went one way, she went another. I turned to see her hug a stranger. This woman was standing right outside the restaurant with her cell phone up to her ear, talking and crying. And my friend, her name deserves to be said out loud, Jocelyn, turned, and I don't know what took place in those milliseconds, but what I witnessed was her giving this woman on the phone a hug, just saying, "It's okay, you're loved." Now, Jocelyn was at a place in her life where she could give that, and she felt safe in doing so. And the depth of that hug and the time that they spent just in that beautiful, lovely embrace let me know that the woman appreciated it too.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have to be at a space to give what we can. And I'm holding my fingers up in like an inch, just a little bit at a time, just step by step. Earlier, I said the word purpose by purpose. I haven't said those words in my life before, but that's it. Purpose by purpose. If you can do one little thing, if you can share your breath, if you can share what's inside you, just that little bit makes a world of difference.
Exactly. Exactly. And you just talking about, sharing that breath. That is the meaning and the essence of aloha. And a lot of times people think aloha is just a greeting. But when we look at the word and we break it down to its smaller parts, alo is presence and ha is the breath of life. That you are in the presence of life. And so, it's like that is what we need. I think that is what we need is, and of course, again, with discernment, because we've got to, I mean, we've got to be real as well too, right? There are animals out there where it's like, ooh, we just can't go up to them and give them a big old hug, right? We can't.
No, no, we can't. We
We
can't.
can't we can't do that. We have to feel safe. Like you were talking about. It is that safety. If I see someone that is just out of sorts, I mean, anything could be happening. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be a mental instability. It could be any of those things that we need to also protect ourselves. So we can't be naive about, oh, you know what, we're just going to go and love everybody. We're just going to give everybody hugs. I wish we could, but that's not where we're at. So
Mm-mm.
discernment does come into play when we talk
But
about this.
Dr. Jerry, I hope you will help me expand upon this idea that's coming into my mind right now. It's also easier when you're building a community,
Yes,
when you start to build that foundation. And it can be strangers building a foundation, like at one of my paint parties, but then they get to know one another and
absolutely.
something opens.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do that, I mean, it's like I feel that the framework that I utilize and how we build community, how are we in conversation with each other? How do we hold dialogue? How do we do that is, through the guiding principles of aloha. So the guiding principles of Aloha, Aloha, is about asking questions and about inquiring, about being curious about an individual, not with judgment, but with true curiosity, wanting to know them, like how you're doing with those cards. Right? It's like you're putting out their bios. It's like you want to know about
Mhm.
this animal. Here it is. Listen, listen. Listen with the intention to understand and to learn and truly be present in that. Observe, right? It's like sometimes when we ask questions and we don't really listen. We ask questions so then that way we can hear where we can actually respond instead of truly listening.
Yeah, but respond, take that another step. Don't respond to make yourself feel good. I constantly say, what was my motive for doing that?
Yes.
Self-serving,
Yes.
it, stop it. If it's to help another person take their next breath, realize something new about
Exactly.
themselves, then we take that.
Yes, absolutely. It's reciprocal. You can't be taking it all, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the O comes in to observe. Observe, observe those narratives that you have in your head. Observe your intentions, your impact, and everything on that, right? Observe what's happening in your body. And always coming from this place, H, heart, coming from this place of love and compassion and empathy. And the final A in aloha is to adapt. It's to
Yeah.
adapt, right? Adapt our way of thinking, adapt, to the way that the breath is moving in between you and the other individual. Adapt your ways of care, right? It's like not, how many cats do you have?
4.
Four.
DEFCON 4. Crazy cat named DEFCON 4.
So you have four cats, and they all probably have their own personalities
They
with
do.
their own background on how they came into your life. And
Yes.
so I'm sure that there had to been some, it's like you needed to adapt to different ways that because you treated one animal the same way and you brought them in and loved them, that's not the same way that you're going to do with the other ones.
No.
And that's how we actually build community. That's how we engage in these conversations. And yeah, I love what you're doing and the correlation between animals and people.
I stood up to let Mr. ECAT out so that he would cause no more trouble. But I also, in doing so, let Belloni in. Belloni, and this is a statement of resilience. Belloni came to me from a shelter where he was loved. His life before that was not so great. We believe that he was in an incredibly bad situation. When he came to the shelter, he had 17 cigarette burns. I know. I am judgy on that one. Sorry, I am judgy. Belloni, I'm going to bend down and get him. Oh, Belloni, he
Mhm.
sleeps with me at night. He gives me head boops. He cuddles in. He forgives whatever those humans did to him in the past. He's forgiven them. And I can tell by the way he treats me.
Yes.
And you can't see this, but he's just loving the little chin scritches right now.
What kind of cat is he?
Yellow and white.
Okay.
The cats are mainly mixed unless you have a purebred. So they refer to them all as just domestic short hair.
And look at that. He is such a loving cat.
Yes,
So,
viewers could see this, but he's just cuddled into my face.
yes. Yes, that's beautiful.
He has a name for me. That's his name for me. I don't know if you saw his head when I said that, but he knows.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this tells a tale of forgiveness too.
Yes,
Animals are so good at that. Maybe we could learn from them.
exactly. Exactly. And I truly believe that um if they could speak to us, if they could speak to us, there could be a lot of things that they could say. I mean, for a cat to come to you with 17 cigarette burns, there had to have been some kind of trust issue with humans because he didn't know if you were going to hurt him or not. That's all he's been going through is this pain. And so, yeah, you talked about the resilience and the forgiveness. And you know what, Alex, you have every right to judge. You have every right to judge. I did the same thing too. It's like, what would make anybody do something like that to a cat, to an animal that cannot speak, that cannot defend itself?
Yeah.
And you causing that kind of inflicting that kind of pain because you can get away with it.
But the pain inside that person must be tremendous.
Yes, that's what I was. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wish someone had caught them when they were young and
Yeah.
given them that hug that you talked about. That
Yes.
changed everything. Um, just a quick aside, we worked a little bit with the Denny juvenile justice system through a woman named Cynthia Gahn, who runs Heart Art Healing. And she came in when we had our Everett Mall store. She came in with these kids and they painted our pictures. And one young man painted his picture of this cat behind bars. But that's kind of sensible. Yeah, sometimes they're in cages, like Miss Street Cat was. But she had the presence of mind with her degree to stop and say, "Tell me what you see right now." And he said, "I see the cat behind bars." And she said, "How does that relate to you?" And it took a little while, but the young boy said, "Because I'm behind bars. That's all I have to look forward to." And Cynthia was smart enough to say, "What do you want for this cat? What future do you want for this cat?" And I'm really skipping the beats here, but it ended up, I want him to have a happy life where he's loved. And she said, "What would that take?" And he defined it. And she reflexively turned that statement around and said, "What would it take for you?" Beautiful moments of discussion, beautiful intersection of what we do and how it matters to people. Beautiful moment where a life can be changed, not just the four-legged ones, the two-legged ones too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be able to, it's like have them reflect, right? Reflect on what what he wanted for the cat is the same thing that he wanted for himself.
He didn't know how to verbalize it, but
He
it was.
didn't, right. He didn't know how to verbalize that because who's going to listen to him anyway?
Yeah,
He's just a juvenile in jail, right?
very.
And that's all he's been given. But when he was able to verbalize it through an animal, that self-reflection became alive for him. It's like, wait a minute, this is what I want. And so it's like, okay, it's like as humans, we make choices and we have to live with consequences. And sometimes those consequences are harder than others. But knowing that we can actually start practicing on what it means to be in relationship. What does it look like? How can we see things differently? And of course, simultaneously, it's like our society needs to view these individuals, these animals differently as well too. Right? Not looking at an animal as like, that animal is wild. You know what? Euthanize that animal. Just get rid of that animal. It's like where's the heart in that? Where's the hope in that?
Yeah,
And so it's like, yes, we can look at our animals and humans the same way, that
yeah,
all
I
they want
do.
is love.
And a chance.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what's within our power to give that chance.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, little by little.
And for our four-legged friends, yeah, it's a chance to be able to be in a home where they are cared for, where they are loved, where they can cuddle and receive scratches, right? It's giving them a chance to actually feel
Mm.
that. For our human friends, it's an opportunity to change, an opportunity to utilize the wisdom that they've learned, that they can only learn by experiencing life. And life is messy, and we make mistakes.
A lot.
We make mistakes a lot. Yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
we do.
this is beautiful. This is beautiful, Alix. And it's like I just wanted to thank you so much just for sharing your hard work in
Uh,
all of this. And
if I
yes,
may say, it's certainly not me. Those 140 individuals who have given their heart and soul to help me, and the 14 that are my forever doers, thinkers, doers is what I call them. It's everybody. It's this community coming together to make this change, to make this difference. And I am at this moment a mouthpiece for all those other people's hard work.
it's like a change is not going to happen by one individual, you're right. And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to be able to make the changes that we want to see in the world. You are just giving a platform for that. And that takes a lot of responsibility as well too, right? It takes a lot of responsibility. And your heart for reaching out into the community and showing those layers of care that can happen, the transformation that can actually happen, the healing that can begin from all of that. It just begins with one single step and 1,000 people behind of you.
You said it beautifully. I couldn't have put it better. Yeah, it begins with that one single step and the people behind it and the act of care and the act of
Yes.
aloha.
And the act of aloha. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that, it's like that this podcast is about and how I actually move forward in life is of the words that comes from one of our elders who's passed. She's now an ancestor, and it's Palahi Paki, and she said that when the world seeks peace, they'll look to Hawaii because Hawaii has a key, and that key is aloha. And that's what I believe. I believe that is one of the things that we need to do is to continue to share aloha in all kinds of ways. My goal is to reclaim aloha as not just a greeting, but a way of being, a way of living, a way of being in community with each other through love and compassion and empathy and understanding. And that's exactly what you're doing. And it's beautiful work. And I'm so glad that you actually agreed to be on the podcast. So,
That was not difficult. You're a spirit that I would love to just spend time with. So thank you.
oh, thank you. And I mean, it's like, when we come together in these spaces of compassion and empathy, we resonate in a certain frequency. And when we're together, the more we are together, the frequency just gets louder and louder, and that influences the world around us. And even though we may not see the impact right away, we know it's there. We know it's there. You see the impact by the artwork, by the transformation, by the ideas that you can shift one mindset to another instantly by just asking questions.
Yeah, and recognizing and being aware. Would you have a moment for one more little story?
Absolutely.
Here,
Absolutely.
I was at a farmer's market and we had a booth there. We were selling our sit, stay, and play at home painting kits so that anybody could take them home and paint and show off their work and fund the animals through that purpose. And a young girl named Nani came up and, with her mother's help, purchased a kit. She was quite proud of herself. It was one of those first acts of independence. And then she came back about 2 weeks later to that same farmer's market and gave me back the painting. And she said, "Will you show this? Will you?" Is what she said. And I said, "Yes. Where do you want me to show this?" And she said, "In your store. Show it in your store." And I said,
Mm.
"Yes, I'll show it in my store." So I put it up in the store, or so she thought. She came in with her mom and her little brother, who was probably about 5, a week later. And they walked in. I happened to be there. I'm not always there. We don't have that store anymore. We have Bellis Fair and Marysville Factory Outlets now. But she walked around, she looked around, she looked around, she looked around, and her face dropped. And she took her mom's hand and she started to walk out. Her little brother was trailing behind her. And all of a sudden he said, "Nani, Nani, Nani, there it is." And he pointed, and in one of the arched areas with a specific museum light over it was her picture of the dog. Her smile grew 3 times. We changed her life in that moment. She was seen, she was recognized, maybe only by her family, but wait, also internally. She saw she was worth it. That was a moment that, to this day, I want to retell that story. It made a difference. It made a difference in that little girl's life. May have made a difference to her brother, her family, and you might guess that they were not necessarily naturalized Americans. Um, Made a difference. They were seen. They were cared for.
Hmm.
They mattered.
Yes. 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 And for a person to recognize, or actually for a person to be acknowledged of their worth by
Mhm.
another human being, that says a lot. That says a lot on changing lives. And who knows what you've instilled in this child, right? She could be the next Picasso. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Picasso is the word that I use when somebody does something and they hate their work. I look at it and I say, you know who paints like you? Picasso paints like you. You know what his last painting sold for? $67 million. Keep doing that.
Yes.
Keep putting those noses on the top of the head. There's a reason that you're
Absolutely.
you.
Yes, yes. And, I mean, it's like, thank you so much for sharing that story. It's like, it's so important to hear more of these human-centric stories in a lot of our narratives. I mean, there's so many things out there that we can choose to listen to that can keep us spiraling. Keep us spiraling, keep us at that point where it's like we're looking at each other and we're judging each other and we're not liking each other because of this and because of that. I mean, it's the same thing as like, I don't like this cat because it has stripes. I don't like this cat because of this and that. And finding reasons to not like another sentient being. And
Yeah,
we are being fed that every single day.
we are. We are.
So these human-centric, these heart-centered stories it's medicine. It's medicine for this world that is so fractured. And we definitely need more. And so thank you for being that story of aloha and sharing it in our communities. And it's an honor to be in the same area where you are. And I'm hoping that we can, we're gonna be in touch because I wanna walk those halls. I wanna see those pictures. I wanna be able to, experience that. And so experience how you're sharing aloha in the world.
Well, you have been a light in my life and an encouragement to do more. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on the Evolution of Aloha podcast. And before we end, I just want everyone to just let's just take a breath together. Let's just take a big alo inhale and exhale. So being in a present of breath. And this isn't the kind that you rush through, it's a kind that you feel because this right here, this this isn't the end. This is just the space between one story and the next. And what Alix shared with us today, that wasn't just something to listen and move on from. That's a reminder that compassion isn't something that you talk about. It's something that you do. It's how you show up, how you treat what's in front of you, whether it's a person, an animal, or moment asking for your attention. So don't leave this here. Carry it with you when you walk out into your day, when you're tired or frustrated, when it's easier to just look away. That's the moment. That's where aloha lives. And it's not in the easy spaces, but in the choices to stay open anyway, because we're all connected, whether we act like it or not. We're breathing the same air, moving the same world, moving through the same world, and trying to find our way back to each other. So I'll leave you with this. Be the kind of person who notices, who pauses, who chooses to care when no one's keeping score. And if something in you shifted today even just a little, then don't let it close back up. Sit with it. Move with it. Let it change you. Because we'll be right here in the same space, same energy, and ready to keep going. So this is the Evolution of Aloha podcast, a Plowline production. So please tune in for upcoming episodes with other amazing people from around the world. And don't forget to subscribe to the Evolution of Aloha and Plowline podcast. It is available on all your popular podcast platforms. And help us continue this work by becoming a supporter and head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/evolution of aloha, because your contributions will go directly toward producing and building engaging and quality content. So until next time in Hawaii, we say ahui ho until we see each other again. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and aloha, everyone.
Ahuliho.